evening. A little game update there. I would guess they're fixing the multiplayer miner bug. I understand that, like, if any client player in a game touched a miner, it would just stop working. Actually, maybe it was anybody, but if a host built it, it was okay, but then you couldn't install overclock, so is kind of a mess. Alright, I needed to do cable manufacturing. So basically, I need to peel off some stuff from the copper sheeting that's not being super used right now. Are you still sorting? Well, okay, this is the output side. Okay, yeah, you're just still sorting. We just had a lot of circuit boards there. Okay, and it looks like, well, I inserted some cables into here to kind of get it going, but that's going to stop soon. We still got the buffer to work through. Alright, so over here, we've got a whole bunch of copper sheeting. Okay. So this was, yeah, standard 60. We split the smelting. I wish I thought of counterflow when I did this one. Actually, switching this over into counterflow smelting would free up a lot of space to split and do other stuff here. We've kind of got enough space. What is going to be my rate on wire and cable? That means Caterium ingots. 15. So we're running a 4-way split to make full use of it. And I think that is what, 1530? Yeah, 1530, so that's going to be 2 things doing cable. Since we don't seem to be fully syncing the sheeting right now. So we can fit that in there. Just having more space to work would be nice. I don't know what I just deleted. Ah. Actually, I probably got that somewhere, don't I? I didn't think that was where I wanted to put it. There we go. So this isn't necessarily going to be here. That isn't necessarily going to be there. Is this power pole connecting anything else? No. Okay, shoot, I need to put the miner here. I figured, I know it's a bunch of ore, but we should be able to handle it. Is that be a little bit off kilter? Okay, we're getting a little over to the edge here, but not off it yet. Ooh, that might be too close, huh? Fits. Alright, copper ingot. Good golly, take this stuff off of me. Oh, I picked up a lot of ore. Okay, I need power before I can do that. Right, because you have the full buffers plus other stuff. So these come together. And we're doing a three-way split here. Now we need to do a two-way split. I guess I could also go over here. And technically there's another copper mine, which is right there, which we're probably not even fully utilizing either. So, I mean, I could equally well... In fact, is this making cable? Well, it's making wire and cable. I could equally well kind of tap that and send it back, too, if it was an issue. But where do we need to put it? Because anything I do on that side is just going to be on that side of all this. Well, if I go this side, I have to kind of thread through here. If I go that side, I have to go around it. Oh, actually, that was a temporary box for exactly where the cable is going to be going. So, I mean, this is a nice shot. First, I do have a two-step process here. So we'll be able to break off somewhere around here, and then somewhere at this point, we might be able to start doing our many constructors. Really? It's actually making it worse for me here. I mean, I could have arranged to do a splitter in the middle thing. That should be fine. Right, I can probably take that by now? Okay, then all of those will go out there. So even without power, they're able to dequeue themselves. And then I'll be able to put more stuff. Well, I won't be able to do the copper ore yet. Gotta get him turned on for that. Well, if I start the smelters first, then I could insert ore into those, I guess. Although... Oh, yeah, we didn't insert anything there. Okay. Which I guess means I should probably do that, huh? Excuse me. Alright, we were connecting from here, I think. Alright, wire, 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 power. And then all this needs to go into cable, which will thread through there. So 1530. Each of these will do enough for one cable manufacturer. And then you're going to produce 30, so these can be joined up into one. I don't know where the conveyor pole was. Wait. What the heck? Really? No, that's probably the power line that's powering this stuff? What did we just connect? Excuse me. Alright, how are these things doing? Oh, yay. Alright, so they are making way. $30, $30, $60. Lost some resources if these ever need to run at the same time, but you know, hopefully the project part will be kind of blocked up at some point. So that's what was left cable-wise from before. And the usage rate, that should be 60 per minute, so... Once things equalize... And we're working again. But this thing had quite happily eaten... nope, it's actually blocked. Had quite happily eaten everything else in the meantime. Alright. So I've got a small thing producing coke right now. I could probably refine... There seems to be enough of that they could probably refine some of it into fuel for testing purposes. After that... It's like, wait, if we did some kind of primary production, I've been... And I was doing 6.5. I don't know what the rates on fuel are. And I also have no sense what the usage rate on these are. They're twice as good as coal generators, though. So you might expect something like that. Alright, so I feel like we have exceeded our list. But rubber we'll have out there. Well, it's all being loaded up. The one disadvantage of this construction site is that we do not have pipes, beams, copper sheets. Just being made there for us. Nor do I have any place I think I'm aware of where I could make those things easily. Unfortunately, the area around all of my oil spots at the other place is a little crowded. Now, I've probably got enough surplus residue that I could still do playing around with generators. But I kind of want to do the experimentation where I wasn't going to be disrupting any significant production. Wow, we have no project parts in this belt. Well, I know it was stopped up on the automated wiring for a while. Still, that's actually... Considering we should have got those going again, although it needs a lot of them. I might actually have a production rate issue there. because it wanted a lot of those things, and then this is... You are 2.5. Oh, you probably want a lot more than 2.5, huh? Yeah, you want 7.5. But they are being made. I'd need some bigger copper sources to feed that cable, though. That would be like the 3 copper spots way down the valley. But I need steel for the rotors, and then I'd have to bring steel from my current power plant area. We're also going to need a whole bunch of pipes. Well, we got plenty of kissed beams. That leaves me like... I mean, 60 is probably around what I was carrying before. I slid a bunch of steel pipes. Now, I don't know that I have a steel pipe box in this assemblage currently, other than what I had from before. That might be a good thing to have, because I need them for hypertubes. And again, this will last me for a while. Ooh, it's a... That's a little tight. Don't leave me any room for like extra stuff. No, I think I took like an extra motor, extra beam. Let's see, encased industrial beams. Well, like I could cap this up. Didn't necessarily need plastic. We might need it for something. Computers are more if I were more like, yeah, these things are like more if I wanted to build a truck. I guess I do kind of have to go back this way. Then again, maybe I don't want to do a truckload of rubber on my way out. So many little pipe segments. Oh, is this... Since I've got a box for coke, This is where I would actually want the fluid buffers. Well, there's some plastic. Also, where did I take damage? Quartz is one of those places where I might have been able to do the occasional truck run. Alright. Okay, yeah, rubber's still filling. But that was overflow. Well, if we take it out of there, it'll just stop filling. Oh, but I don't have space for it right now. We've got Coke, we've got stuff going into there. Alright, so just to refresh my memory. Let's Coke. You are a 120. You were a 120. So boop. Was that one too far away? So boop. Okay, yeah, there's one over there. Huh, how doesn't seem to be showing up? Maybe not all things are pingable? You're 240. One 120, 240. Oh wait, oh, this is the coal plants. No, this is actually deep water. Well, coke plants in this case, I guess. So maybe since I did power over here, this would be where I'd wanna. That's a 240. So right now I think it's 4. Oh wait, is there? No, that's behind me. That was a crash. So I don't know if I want to use this for fuel, but this is my power plant island right now. Well. Or I just try and tap the residue from here for the time being. Since we clearly have excess coke. Just so I kind of get a sense of what the fuel values are. Now that's assuming I can get into my residue pipe. Which, maybe. This might actually be a little bit tighter because I just got the splitter there. We could probably tap something out of there, but we've got a whole lot of conveyors, so we're doing this thing. This has the coke and the station on it. So nothing super convenient. We need a processing station to create fuel. I need a generator in order to see how fast it burns. I have to hook it up to a load to actually make it burn. Oh, we're gonna have a little bit of a constrained exit here. Really, do we have to do the... Okay. The thingamajiggy first. I could see wanting to do more stuff here, although I actually had to do pipeline stacked to... Alright, fuel from oil. Straight residue. I don't know if I want a tank right now, because this is just going to kind of be experimentation stuff. Gotta pick up my rubber now that we have not freed up a space. But I need the rubber to make that. Alright, I probably didn't actually need that many engines. No, 3 plates, that was useful. Oh, and I picked up the extra beacons, I forgot about that. Those could have gone to equipment somewhere. You've only got one input, so you don't necessarily need the water. Well, some of the other chemical processes do. Now, here's hoping we don't blow our circuit. Yeah, I hooked up a bunch of extra stuff. Took all my extra power slots. Let's see. So this was for you. That went around the pole to there. That. So this should probably kind of do stuff going this way. And I don't actually need to do anything over there at the moment because we did that. Now, are you getting any residue, though? No. I mean, I could probably shut down my coke for a little while. It might have a little bit of a better... Well, it's probably definitely got the rubber, which you rubber priority. I mean, I guess I could have forked it off this pipe, which is getting stuff from both. That's still going to be a split. We might have to back up this pipe before it actually gets all the way over here. I also not think we're producing that at full value, but... Or rather, we're producing enough to fully satisfy that. This is just... I need to know what a fuel value is to balance systems. Of course, I've kind of played the coke by ear, I guess. This might be able to fall immediately down to here. At which point it would be going... Yeah, you say you've got none. So we're not there yet. Oh, did they... I feel like they added little things to represent where these guides are, you know, gearing themselves along. Which it also serves to give you a sense of the maximum value, I guess. I don't think that was there before. Okay, you've gotten a little bit. Testament to just how low we're running this here. Hopefully, this plant doesn't kill us before we... Okay, now. Problem. Oh, well. So it uses... Okay, so this actually does give us a per minute rate. Unlike every other power plant. Now that's 15, which is compared to this. But that's per minute, and this is like, it's actually using it per second, so to speak. But it's like, it seems to be going through like I guess maybe it's going through 1/10, because that's how it reports things. Because like this thing is just all over the place. Alright, so... So we had 3 coal plants, which was more than 150. So that seems to be able to run 1 plant. At a slight positive. So we could probably run to it. Well, true. Power plants run at... Don't use power proportional to the demand, and this is only like half demand right now. Still, if you had two of these, they'd both be a little bit underutilized. I wonder if this is being affected by the amount of fuel. It's like, oh, let's reset how long it is till we decrement one. So I think what I'd want to do is you'd want to run fuel first. Well, I guess I haven't really compared efficiency. How do I compare efficiency? I mean, that will make my coke use slower because it's providing some of the power. So it'll be okay for a little while. Okay, so just one of these, if it was fully stuffed, which it doesn't seem to be fully stuffed, it produces 40 per minute. One of these plants for 150 is 15 per minute. To do that, it takes 6 units of residue. Well, so that's the production rate. There's some, yes, there's like power that goes into that. That takes, is that 40 per minute? Okay, so in terms of getting rid of residue, it's more efficient at sinking residue. I think coke burns in a coal plant at 2.4 seconds. And it would be so nice if that was the minute rate, but we can convert it. I think that becomes 25 per minute. .4 seconds. Alright, calculator time. I mean, you presume that the higher tech thing is better, but I don't actually know how it works out. Alright, so if I recall, 60 divided by 2.4 is 25 coke per minute. For 70 megawatts, 75 megawatts. So you could also say 50 per minute for 150 megawatts to make the devices comparable, plus the overhead of a water pump. But that's like one pump per 3. And that's 20 megawatts. So what is that, like 225 for the 3 minus 20 overhead divided by 3 is an effective 68. We were kind of comparing it to 2, which actually makes it less, so it's... Yeah, I probably just need to work out some sort of like efficiency rating. So we get effectively 68 for our 25 coke per second, or per minute. Those all together, 25, 25, 25. That's like 75. This could produce up to 120 per minute at peak. We're not going to be running it at peak, but that's the fuel. How are we doing? Oh! I might have to turn Coke back on just to relieve pressure. Okay, so we don't have the input jumping around now. Yeah, this isn't completely filled up yet, but... Oh, its output buffer might be blocked, but it would still take input. Alright, so you take 40 units of residue per minute. Well, it's 4 to 120. That's the production rates. So you're using 70... Well, what that 68 is using 25. And this thing is 30 megawatts, so there'd be some fraction of that. 120. Let's see, so 120 divided by 25. 4.8. No, 25 divided by 120 is about 1/5 of a refinery. A refinery is 30 megawatts. So that's another 6.25. 68 minus 6.25. So we're approaching 60 megawatts net power. The other thing, so there's net power. There is also, what's the material efficiency per unit residue? Well, that's the effective power generated. It takes 4 to produce 120. And you said that was 0.2. So 4 times 0.2 is about 0.8 residue. That's per minute. Oh no, that's 120 parts per minute. It's 12 to 4 at that level. Or yeah, we just say 40. 40 times 0.2 is 8. So 8 residue per minute to get 60 power. In power, that's power for a minute, maybe. That might be mixing units a little bit. You take 15 fuel per minute. You produce 40 fuel per minute. So is that 15 of 40 is about 0.37. That's 40 per minute times 60 input. $22.5. That's a big multiple. And there's the 30 megawatts out. That's 120 megawatts. Net power. Nope, that's assuming the entire thing was like 0.37 of the 30. That's pretty close to 1/3. So 22. So that's definitely using the residue faster. feel like I messed up my math somewhere. Because that is almost 3 times the residue for 2 times the power. Oh wait, 30 times 0.37 is 11 off, so that's actually only like 150 minus 11, 139 versus like 61. So we were saying that it was 0.8 or 8 residue per minute for 60. Okay, by 61. Or do I want 61 per 8, 7.6 power per residue? And this was like 22. 139 divided by 22, 6.31 power per residue? Okay, and I have officially backed up. This might have pipe priority. So what you'd really want to do in a complete system here is set it up so it went to presumably fuel generators first. And then any leftovers went to coke to go into shredders, basically, to handle your overflow. Surely I've done some math wrong here. Because maybe fuel is supposed to be less efficient because it's more convenient to just do a couple of fuel generators than a whole bunch of coal generators with water and all that stuff. But yeah, technically the coke refinery was able to sink all of our residue before, so I don't see that stopping. Yeah, that probably had a full pipe. Yeah, might be starting to drop. Nope, not yet. What have I done wrong in my math here? This is almost spreadsheet material. Imagine the CPU's gonna like this. No. Alright, so if we switch over to Okay, that's actually on top. So, one coal plant. So we have base power 75. It requires a water pump. Actually, this is coke. At approximately that much power. It requires a, let's see, we have coke refinery, which, and you see, there's like a whole bunch of things that are a whole bunch of numbers. And I have to figure out how we want to organize this. It produces 120 coke per minute from 40 coke per minute fuel. And it costs, what, 30 megawatts? You use... Maybe we need, like, input-output? So coke has an input of... Well, that would be different columns, but... Coke has an input of 25, which we've got to handle that somewhere. Yeah, so I need to figure out a better spacing for this. So of that 120, we have that fraction used, which so we use that much residue, and so we're gonna want something like coke, fuel, like residue used, power produced, and then all of this is going to need its own calculations. So we've got raw power produced 75, 150. Raw usage is 2515. So probably you actually want to do there. So there's your raw numbers. Residue used, I mean, we're ignoring production rate. Way refinery. Producing coke. So we're going to have a comparable thing for refineries as well. So we have like coke production, fuel production. Well, that's residue produced. What does that mean? Raw. resource production is 120 and 40 at peak. But you use 25. Equals B9 divided by B11 equals, actually you're same. Refinery power, 30 megawatts. So we've got, I got refinery power again. Equals B12 times B13. So we've got water pump power, 20 megawatts, 0 water pump usage, equals B15 divided by 3. So we think we have net power is raw power produced, B10 minus B14 minus B16. It's a little bit different than we got before. 138. Kind of roughing some of the numbers. Okay, now on the fuel side, raw power produced, residue. That's not residue used, that is input used per minute. Residue used. Raw resource production. And I don't have anything in here. Residue used for that production is 40 and 60. Residue fraction. Well, this should be refinery usage, right? Residue usage is B13 times B12. Okay, well, there's the 822 again. And power per residue. B18 divided by B19. So is it just simplicity is the bonus? I guess we sink more residue per minute with one refinery on fuel. And maybe we produce a more compact resource? But for power, so it will take less refineries to sink all of my residue. But our power rate per refinery is lower? See, so this is, I mean, that's the same for both of them. This is refinery power each. Yeah, we run a lot more coal plants, but they're half as good. Yeah, actually, 6.25 times 2 is 12.5. So the refinery power usage per peak power is like perfectly equal. And then you take a ding on water pump power. I mean, maybe this would be easier to compare if you were doing 2 coke plants, because then you'd have similar peak power numbers. That would be similar. So let's... so that's 50, 150. That's the same. That's the same. That affected you. That affected you. This was a... That affected you. I mean, that's exactly twice that. So 1624. Why is this? D11 divided by D12. Okay, well, yeah, so that's ratio per. It makes some of the numbers easier to compare. $50 of 120 versus 15 of 40. I mean, that basically comes down to your refinery usage. These are a little bit closer. We're using a bigger proportion of a refinery, which should equal a little bit more power usage. And we've got the ding power here. Raw power produced. And it's less raw power. So yeah, just the production rate for coke seems to be a little bit better. Did I miss up my numbers? Okay, yes, you did in fact run out of fuel now, which means this thing's probably going to shut down any moment now. Well, it's still got a full pipe, but it will shut down eventually. $15 meters cubed per minute. 60-40. $41.20. I mean, the Coke is individually less dense. I mean, 60-40 versus 41-20. I wonder if there's a way to sort of normalize. Well, I kind of normalized it here. Power per residue. I mean, maybe there's something for like the extra piping and material. Well, I mean, you're using more advanced materials for fuel. Extra piping you need. This has a water requirement that fuel doesn't have. Although if you're refining fuel, true, there are alternate recipes. So maybe the residue path doesn't make sense. And some of the that's where some of the other paths make sense. Because I'm only operating from residue. You can also produce. Is that the fuel 40 per minute? And then you get the resin, and then that whole process needs water. I did not. There was an alternate recipe that was slightly better for making residue. I thought might be good for a fuel thing. But you do have this path, and then you can also use that residue with water. But it seemed like these might be a little bit worse. It's like this is 3 oil for 2 plastic, and the residue is like 6 oil for a plastic. So there's still kind of one thing as your primary produced. And this doesn't take water. Three for 2, 4 for 2. Oh yeah, then there's the plastic plus fuel recipe. Which probably takes your residue to fuel and then turn it into more stuff. Well, I was kind of hoping for a power buff here. I might have to go ask around if I did my math wrong. Now I probably still want to produce some fuel for other purposes. But it doesn't seem like it's necessarily a good thing for power. And it's like, this would be even better if you weren't counting the water pump overhead. Residue usage. Oh, you know what? You know what? This is probably better because it sinks more residue. If you're just trying to produce plastic and rubber, you actually want to burn it faster. And the only thing you have to watch out for then is that you don't run out of power. But I do seem to remember some complaints from people that they couldn't burn fuel fast enough to keep their production up. Now I've got an alternate recipe that uses fuel, which might solve that. But this solves the surplus production problem. And here we are burning coke when we've got this. Oh, so you're gonna shut down imminently. Perfect timing. Yeah, so if I actually wanted to like produce fuel for some purpose, well, I could probably go over to someplace else. And, well, yeah. To make fuel, I either have to do something with the residue. Now I could just shred the residue. I either make fuel and dispose of the residue, or I have to just make some extra rubber and plastic and shred that, essentially. So we're clearly able to make enough fuel to provide for one fuel generator. For the amount of power we provided previously here, we would want to... I have a feeling I'm going to want fuel for something, and I think I might need it for the jetpack stuff. So I might need something producing packaged fuel, which I don't think you're going to produce any unless I rearrange some of our pipeline here. I could go over to a different oil spot, but we have to deal with the solids. If we produced fuel, I'd have to do all of the processing for that stuff. Otherwise, I'd have to do another oil rubber thing, and... If I did a split here, maybe I'd be able to get a little bit of it. Because, I mean, we're just looking for some packaged stuff. Now, actually getting out here. Now let's look at the corner. Actually, I might have to come up here. Which might have a lift issue, especially considering that that thing is straight up down. So I might not be able to get... Well, there's something. But I suspect... that the upward angle is going to be a problem here. So actually... Well... So you'd almost have to like redo this to create a slight disincentive to it. Now I probably got surplus oil here. Oh yeah. We could just do extras of these. I wouldn't really have places... Well, they'd be surplus, so they could just go straight to the shredder. And then their residue pipes... and I wouldn't even really have to care which. Because it would just be to use some oil. Or in that case, maybe I do just ship solids into the shredder. Just produce fuel directly. We... throw it into a packager, so we have packaged fuel. Oh, I also need packages, though, don't I? Which is plastic. So I guess I could set up a canister factory, store some of them in case we need them for anything, and then start packaging fuel from the residue of it. I suspect we're not going to use this. I might want to just use one of the other oil spots. Really? I guess that did technically change the network. So another nice thing about coal power, it's a lot easier to bootstrap. Well, I guess I technically had to get it to produce some coke. So I'd have to get it to produce some fuel for that. So what have we got here? So these two are together. So they could be nice for some combo applications at some point. Euro 120, Euro 120. Although this might be both my 120s. And then Euro 240. And you're a 240. And I think... So there's you. Those two are kind of being combined. Although there was like one spot the other place that I'd never really found. Or that I think I sort of saw it on the ground, but it never really showed up in the pings because it was so close to other stuff. So maybe I could do some running around here at some point if I really want another one. I guess I could try to... Well, if I'm doing more processing, I'm going to need more power to do said processing. But we've already seen that we can, like, kind of handily produce enough to run a fuel generator. So... I think the idea was I'd ship all my coke over to that place and have that be the power plant, just because there was space there. So all these produce coke. Maybe it's more space dense as well. Well, it's probably about the size of 2 coal plants. It's not that different. So, like, this is the thing that's kind of over on my power plant section already. So we could use that one. So the 240 was what we were using 6 plants for. So if we were to fully utilize this, it would be 6 plants producing plastic. All of it being produced, being turned into containers. Which is a lot more power draw. Yeah, actually this is one of those things where you have to do a staged turn on because of power. And like you turn on one, get a little bit of residue going, convert it into fuel, into a fuel generator, and then that ups your power limit. Which it probably dropped off by now. Yeah, which we have no headroom right now. Well, we ran one refinery before to make the fuel. Although we need at least 2 to get something going. Although this is where I could increase the size of the coke plant, because we've got a buffer. We've got a big buffer back there. If it was an issue. Alright, so what does the space look like over here? So I think that island was mostly just a crash. I've got a little bit of space out here. That island is another thing by itself. I think... Where else? Over here, maybe? Well, that's a weird little feature. We'd probably want final products as far as packaged fuel to end up in this direction in case we wanted to ship them somewhere. Which might mean, well, you kind of need both the primary and the secondary steps towards your producer end. But unfortunately, we have to refine plastic. We have to turn the fuel into, or the residue into fuel, and then we have to run more machines to package it. And since we're doing fuel, maybe we'll just do some fuel generators. Of course, that would mean you actually have to set up to go to the fuel generators first, and when they're full, you can keep the extra. So maybe that kind of has to be, you go to one side, you produce plastic, residue comes back, go to the other side, produce fuel, you bring that together, and you produce, well, you make plastic, probably just constructors to make packages. Now, technically, we would consume packages and probably wouldn't necessarily need them, but we can shred the extras, which means I can probably point that the other way. Now, the fuel come back on, it doesn't really matter. Residue out. Plastic out. Or maybe I would say for product status, the residue we're thinking crossing over. Actually, there might be enough space here to do them side by side. Now, I did leave some of my stuff behind. Well, maybe that'll be tight. Well, so these would be taking oil in. I guess you could technically produce in the water. And then you'd want enough space to work out pipes and things. Maybe. And then you'd be producing fuel. And this is where we have to do a whole bunch of spacing checks, because I don't know that that's going to be enough. I mean, you could try to set these up one-to-one and hope it works. Then how is that going to work out as we add more of these? Okay, so first of all, that line's a little off. But it roughly works. Alright, so primary production on these. 3, 4, 5, 6. If we're producing plastic, oh, it actually produces less fuel. Hopefully it can self-power. So 6 of these produce exactly 60, so that'd only be 1 refinery. So I might actually, in that case, I might actually want to position that differently. It'll be producing plastic at 20 parts per minute. Oh! Okay, yeah. I forgot about those, but... $30 per minute. It's a lot of canisters. 40, 40, 40. Well, there's always the shredder. Oops. All right. So we've got 3 of these we put together into a 60. Split that in by 2, we get 1 of these. I wasn't even thinking about the hard material logistics here. We do not line up with the conveyor port there. Splitter. Maybe that's why nope. Oh, I actually gotta get a line up there. Push the button. And now we're off. I want to do it like that. So we go 3 into 2. And we produce a whole lot. I need space for a splitter. No. No. Get out in the water a little bit. And then you guys produce a ton. Maybe I do need both sides of the oil here. Of course, I was originally kind of thinking that this might be all power plants, but... Also, we have a bunch of residue coming out, but we have at most 60 of it, and that gets handled by one plant. Oh, now I might have put this stuff in an inconvenient spot, but these are stackables, so... Right, 1, 2, 3. No, yeah, it should be right in the middle. Why is it going down? You kidding? Okay. I probably dropped a little bit into the water here. Alright, so you can get out. We've got one of you to produce fuel. We'll have a whole bunch of packages coming here. So packaged fuel, 40, 40, 40. It's not even... That's the production of 2 of these. That's assuming that we don't back up completely on the output. Oh, and that was just way too close. Could I put you in line? The fuel come out over there, but I'd have to get the fuel and the packages to the same side at some point. And we're almost out of space here. So we're only going to have enough... Well, it was 40 fuel, too, which... So all of this will produce enough fuel for the packagers. So we're definitely going to have to run it... Well, one generator... I don't know if a generator will produce enough for this. So this will be feeding probably at least 2 fuel generators. And that will leave like a tiny sliver for actual packages. if that. Now, we know that coke production was positive. With enough left over to do, well, that was also rubber production, which is a little bit higher residue levels. Maybe this setup should be fuel first? Since we don't really care about the amount of plastic we get as much. Of course, the plastic we can shred. The fuel we can't really do anything with if we back up. As long as we get enough power. Alright, so I guess it doesn't really matter which way it goes in. I mean, I could just about do this for how we got this set up right now. One, two, three. Are you off kilter? Yes, you're a little off kilter. Oh, those are terrible. One, two, three. Can't line up with those. Now, maybe I should have just used one of the smaller ones for this, since that would kind of be less overhead. Well, if stuff backs up, it won't be running. If we dump it all into the shredder, it will be. Alright. This is a little farther out than the other one. It's a merger, but it's sideways. Hmm. And actually, I suppose we might want a buffer for fuel in this case. Since we're actually relying on it for power. Alright, we still have to get this going somewhere. And for all of that, no, this will technically produce fuel. Oh, oopsie. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Da, 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 da. I probably could have put a stand on that, but eh. Oh. I guess these things give you free lookout towers, huh? I always forget about that. And for that matter, the refineries are pretty big too. Alright, so where do we want the buffer? We want the buffer just on the power plant side. We want some kind of buffer on the power plant side. And we want that in a position where it will be able to go to the power first. I guess you do power towards the power plants. And then we're going to have, at most, one packager running. Which this thing's really tall. Well. So do we... Well, if we swing this around, we still have to get all the packages through here, and I don't really left any gaps. Maybe this one needs to leave a gap. Now, how do we set up an advantaged situation? Oop. I guess if you went straight into there, and then, like, had a rise out to that, it would only do it when it backed up. Although, these aren't directional per se. So it could probably flow back out of the buffer perfectly fine. Unless there was some sort of gravity incentive there. So we want to, like, go out, fall into the buffer, although there might still be a lot of pressure there. Anything else go into Yeah, that probably has at least as much pressure as the output. I could use a pump, but it costs a little more power. That would probably enforce direction. I mean, that would probably work for this little application. I think that's the only way I have to do a one-way valve. I mean, maybe I could do some things with it goes up to a certain level and then goes, and then, well, the trick would be finding just the right level where it could go up, and then it wouldn't really be able to push past. But yeah, this probably won't have any more pressure than anything else. So that'll be a little bit more power. And we think it's going to take at least 2 of these just to run this stuff. Cannot afford. Well, we can get rubber. Now that's to run everything. If we limit what we hook up, we can probably do some other stuff. Oh, you know what? This stuff is still kind of at ground level. Now that's a straight shot, but it means I can't walk through here. Now, just for walking, pipeline supports are kind of okay. Although it might make some of this stuff a little dodgy. Might also not leave me enough room to get enough stuff in here. Because I want to do that. And that doesn't... Yeah, that still... It still has to go up to do that. I guess I could like go over to a junction here and it would be a fall, or, well, it has to go back. Yeah, and we don't have enough space for that. Now, I'm not married to this buffer position yet. We could do another series of these. Well, that just gets you to a 90-degree turn, which I can't actually turn, so. It's like, we need to get some space to do that. I need some to be determined amount of space. I need a junction to do this. We don't want to have a backup. Like we're lined up with something. Now from here I can't tell where the ports and the power is. I almost want to say I should lift the buffer up a little bit. But yeah, actually, we'll probably have plenty of lift from this. Alright, and we're going to have, well, I could almost just send this stuff straight to the shredder, but actually, maybe I should be keeping plastic from here rather than containers. I mean, some containers are maybe useful, but we just can't use that many. And actually, was one of these enough? 60 parts per minute. We can use at most 40 for this and still have extras for containers, then maybe shred. Alright, so you are going to take a bunch of them. And this is the output. We have to thread conveyors. I was going to do this. I guess you could as easily go around. And actually, if we're not combining that... then we could use this space. Good night. Actually, this has turned into a much bigger... well, it turned into an entire build, which I don't know if it's going to be a good build. But, oh, it's definitely a good position. But you just gotta try stuff out. And this is where we wanted conveyor splitter. I used some of them. There's nothing else I really want. At some point, I'll just kind of buy out the basic part stuff. But I didn't feel I had quite enough to do that completely. Maybe I want that a little bit further out. Well, that's what's going to happen to all this plastic. I was always thinking I'd make a bunch of containers, but you get a lot of containers. Now, I probably would get a few more points for the conversion to containers, but I think I'd... Yep, so that didn't line up with that. But I'm just... It's already kind of a too big build, so... that stuff, I'll worry about capturing plastic later. We'll need to shred the excess here. We'll need to capture the output. I thought I was going to have a storage container just for containers. And that was a total miss. Taking a total miss. Yeah, I think I saw somebody running that. Okay, I'm pretty sure I need another one of these, but I need to get some parts. Was I missing rubber or plastic? Rubber. That'll probably be enough for bootstrapping. I might be able to use this power network for bootstrapping. Wrong way. Alright, so what is some of our basic power network going to look like? We're going to have to power up the oil extractor itself. You're going to need to feed everything. We're going to have something for the power generators, presumably. I don't know if I actually want to turn these on in pairs. That's kind of how it worked out before. Bye-bye. And then these are like technically doing two different jobs. They're both going to be necessary jobs, though, for what we're trying to do. Well, I guess I don't have to package right away. Because we don't need that to bootstrap power. And I might actually only want to run one refinery right off, just because of how little headroom we have right now. So the thing I don't know about the pump is, will it actually block flow if it's not running? Because that could be an issue. Cost 4, well, that's not too bad. So that's going to take a long time to get anything. Now I'm wondering if the level drop actually is an issue here. Well, we'll have a pump in there, so if it goes through the buffer, it'll be fine. Otherwise, we'll learn something. Alright, so starter power network. We need And I guess there's no reason to use these. In fact, I'd probably want one of the ones that's feeding our container thing there. Alright, so packager, not yet. You... we don't need the constructor yet. That's when we need. So we need to start packaging things. Although we'll back up on the plastic pretty quick. I think there's an overload. We do not have a lot of headroom here. Yep. Okay, so the separation fixed that. So we're going to need to boost this power plant up to support bootstrapping that system. And the weird thing is, I was able to get that little fuel system going just fine. Now, I probably got more stuff that... Well, I was running didn't have to run an extra oil pump for that. That was the residue side only. I mean, I probably could switch that system back over, but... I mean, we'll probably need extra coke here at some point anyway. Or, well, extra power and or coke sinking. It's so hard to tell where things are. Okay, that's over a bit, but it looks like our shoreline went in a little bit too. Yeah, you were off a little bit. Of course, now I can't see how it's lined up relative to this, and that is, in fact... What are we disassembling? There we go. That's a little bit farther back than I wanted. Hopefully, tightness of packing isn't going to be too big of an issue here. Alright, so this did progressive split, which, if I did another splitter here, I could just have it fan across. I'm going to have to review my belt speeds. I think this was T2. Maybe planning for the future there. I think I dropped some plates over here. I had quite a lot of materials at some point. Oh, and I can get my other rubber too. Ah. I won't actually need the other generator for a bit. Alright, individual coal plants are only 25-minute. Coke plants, I guess, in this case. However, that was Mark II belt to feed a grand total of 75. We now have a grand total of 150, which is more than 120. So you're doing a grand total of 50, so Mark II is fine. You're feeding 4. Which is 100. No, wait. 25, 25 is 50. So even T1 belt technically be fine. You're 100. So it's actually just this. Which I mean, we'll have to see if I have enough of this. I don't think I do. Now, we don't need to feed those at full speed. Yeah. We need some degree of surplus until the other plants get spun up. And then we should have, like, considerable excess capacity. So did I do one pull? Yeah, one pull for all of those. Then pull for you. Now, I might actually, well, I don't run anything off of you. So the only thing we add at first is the overhead of running the pump. To bootstrap these. And then they're roughly power positive. So you're actually serving the same role as this. So all of these plants just run slower, even though we can't feed them at full speed. Okay, so one of them's on. Filling its water buffer. Of course, that's the one getting the least amount of coal. Or coke. But as these turn on, all of them will start running a little slower. Second one on. So it's got to fill its internal buffer. Okay, water's going over. Third plant on, so we should be roughly at 200% capacity now versus where we were before. So all of these are now running at half speed instead of nearly full speed. And we'll have to bring some steel back to buff up those belts sometime. And then eventually this will be supporting the power as well, so we don't have to worry about running down our coke. I think we were like what, 225 before? So just a little bit over. Running an extra oil pump, which is a big ticket item. It is outputting. We're getting oil up into here. And then we're only running this thing, which is producing plastic and residue. And I might have to watch my plastic back up here. And residue might end up going that way a little bit for a while. Actually, it has to fill up this pipe first. Yeah, it might do the horizontal pipe. Well, there's none there. Okay, so I guess it is still filling. I might need to power this thing just so it can buffer some plastic. There's a little bit. There's a little bit. It looked like I may have had the power headroom with the extra plants to run more of this to get it going faster. Okay, so that produced... Huh. No, that was 40 per minute. The per unit production is 4. So is the pump... No flow rate. It does know it's fuel, although there's no buffer. This thing shouldn't even be on. Doesn't have any yet. We might have to fill this up. Well, it does seem to be going down. I wouldn't say the pump's running. But it is going down. Probably the pump grabs anything that gets into that pipe. So you, no? Oh, are we backed up on plastic? No, but we will be soon. Yeah, this level doesn't seem to be going anywhere. You're not getting any. You're not getting any. Oh, you got a little bit. Oh, we got... Okay, so I guess the pump is doing something. Every once in a while. Did plug in the pump, right? Yeah. Okay, so it may not be pumping through here, though. Because there's no drain rate. Which means maybe I should have raised that up. It kind of seems like we should have produced more by now? Okay, so this is actually going pretty slow. Well, it seems like it won't be self-powered for a while. We've got some headroom. That's going to flip my plastic faster. And I've not built any of the... Well, I've not built any plastic storage here. And I'll eventually have to find something else to do with all the plastic. I don't know that I want to have a huge amount of it. I was originally thinking, oh yeah, we'll just package it. And then maybe this is, if we really do want the fuel here, I'm going to have to see if doing the fuel production first would actually make more sense, because I know it seemed kind of a terrible rate for the plastic and stuff. We don't need a lot of plastic. So maybe the thing you produce first is the thing you kind of get more of. Which, yeah, kind of makes sense. How do I keep doing this? Wait, you're backwards too. Input. That was not what it looked like. This ended up farther back than I expected. Okay, there's a little bit there. This is still barely running. This might have to I might have to completely fill this container before that runs. I just wanted to make sure that there was stuff for you, which hasn't gotten any there yet. Do you need new lift after you go into a container? I mean, at that point, I might just raise the container. Because, I mean, we were power positive with just, like, the two... well, let's tell you there's two refineries. One of them was producing rubber, though. And one of the plastic recipes, you produced rubber, and then you used fuel. Well, like, just to get you plastic, but... Oh, and this pipe might also be filling out a little bit, just because it's there. Yeah, I might have to re-engineer this as a fuel primary system, because you can get plenty of containers. I didn't want to deal with all the water. Okay, so we got a little bit in there, but I don't know. Because really, I don't necessarily want it to sit here. I just want it to be able to back up here. I don't know how much foundation I need. I need more than that. Can I work out? How many foundations we need for this? Okay, 4 is sufficient. I could probably use that to get it established. Now, I might have to kind of rebuild all the stuff over here. Given that... encroaching clearance. Oh, but it doesn't mind this at all. Oh, but then this encroaches some stuff. Oopsie. So, it's like the buffer fit fine. But the full stamp, yeah. That it would have taken up does not. Now this, it could be a bit of a challenge, because I can't see where this is lined up. So I probably have to do it from here. Oh no. Oh yeah. So that wasn't quite where it was lined up before. Maybe it was at a slight angle or something. Alright, so that is at least an even angle into the pipes down here. So that's the buffer. Okay, so some's going into the pipes, but it has no place to go. Oh, that was much farther back than it looked. Alright, and we hooked you up from here, probably? Alright, this was really just to try and provide one-way flow to prioritize power. We did get some stuff over here. So that where I went up, that went down. I don't know if we're, well, hopefully if these will both be running at partial rates. It is hooked into a power grid that has a lot of other stuff going on now. Missing cable? You're just kind of holding, though. Well, it is holding. That probably means our buffer isn't doing too much here. Alright, you're not actually going to be getting much here. To the extent you are. We've got some fuel. So the ideal situation is that we eventually back up, and I probably could have done a small fluid buffer here, just so we had something. 2.4 is more than it used to have. And this will probably back up its plastic. And I guess I could try to get some headroom on the fuel, but I'd also have to play some games with cable to hook anything else up. Missing cable, yeah, we already can't do it. Alright, so I need steel, I need cable. I don't know if I really ran out of anything else. I don't know what my rubber supply is looking like. I'm pretty much got a full load here, but I don't know how often I need to run that. Well, that's a long ride, so I think it's nap time. Be back in a bit.
So wait, on the debug side, like on the development side, is there coordinates for you guys?
Coordinates?
Like X, Y, and Z.
Coordinates. I know of nothing like that.
Because the game has to know somehow. So
yeah, well,
I mean,
we've definitely seen.
Kronos.
we got a.
Bye, Kronos.
We have a slight security issue here.
What?
Sunlight?
Yeah, the die.
Oh,
Our spawn. No, our spawn. I'm actually quite curious how much.
You're gonna die or something.
That's gonna be a problem now.
Wait, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'm gonna use barriers to be a block.
That's a small problem.
Let's use barriers to
believe it!
You might want to clip this, but that's a problem.
Eric, do you think we should just not do things or?
Frustrated.
Oh no, I think we should.
Oh no, Danger can't. Danger got kicked.
I'm in the lobby and no longer receiving missiles.
Oh. That's because you're not on a team. You got kicked because the.
Hi, Stormy, how you doing, friend?
Do/join.
Oh. Please help me.
/TP here Danger Mage.
Too many programmers try to tell me their code is well self-documenting. What the F do you think that means? It's not. If it's self-documenting, probably got your own problems.
Fully back when you did it.
Oh no, why? Every bloody time! Wow, that was fun. Oh.
What? How did he not die from that? He was literally getting hit. And he just stopped getting hit.
The thing, apparently, it has low hull because it has damage from some prior event. Nice and easy though. So that should hopefully aid our colonies even more. Soul Hill. Really that? Let's head out of this system and head for.
Quest that I have to do. Alright, let's go find.
Oh yeah, I left this on screen capture. Oop. All right, so this, ooh, flew a bit. Sound. Probably should move that sometime. Alright, so we need cable, we need steel beams. Should probably check our other basic supplies. I remember I came short on something. I was setting up. Now, you know, we're going to be short on piping soon. We're okay on pipes. Do some plates. Plates. Cables. Yeah. Yeah. Can't slide uphill. And our inventory is very swiftly full again. No one ever took up the coke. Okay, stuff's being produced however slowly. Oh, I should see if I need rubber. I do not need rubber. You were held up on smart plating. Oh, because I was trying to drain that, and I forgot to switch it back. Or Boop, as they might say it, Slime Rancher. That thing's almost like a giant slime. Alright, logistics. I mean, it doesn't seem to be moving too terribly fast, but alright, so we'd have to be able to feed that through there. And really, from the box is probably the main issue. I don't think we can only produce this at 120 per minute, so that's just for burst capacity. Oops. And since these are all filled, I don't think I'll be able to dump off my coke. Yeah, maybe at the end. Nope, they're full. Alright, you're going up. You're going up. You're not full, though. And nothing's going into there. And yeah, so the packaging operation has stopped. I'm going to shredder at some point here. Which I didn't leave. Place for a splitter in here. Oh, actually, this is 60 and that's 60, so if I ever turn this on... Uh-oh. Yep, that did break it. Well, now that there's a break, I don't know if I can put that back. Okay. Nope. I don't have power lines. Now I've got one for you. Alright, we've got 2 fuel generators. And of course, as we turn stuff on, we're going to be using more of that power. We're going to be using the power up faster. Right, so that's running 2 of them. So we can see how that runs. What is the math? If we just produce fuel, that's 60 per minute. Well, I guess that's less overhead power. I don't know how it works, but that's twice the rate that these things process solids. They tend to go 30 per. So you can sink a lot more fuel. That produces, and this whole machine is producing 20. Now on the rubber process, you also produce 2 machines produce 40. Into rubber, whereas fuel produces 30, and then residual rubber takes 4 of those, and residual plastic takes 6. So we get as much of that, but residual fuel is 6 to 4. So I think what I actually want to do here is fuel and residual plastic. Oh yeah, my alternate ingots. Steamed copper sheets. If I had copper. And we'd have a lot of fuel, so we could mess with some of those processes. Alright, so we're now getting tons of plastic. We'll should fill this up a bit faster. Wait, why are we stopped? I have misconfigured because I rebuilt this. Wait. Yeah, that's the center. Wait, what? Is that even... No, because I built over a split thing, so it didn't connect. It went inline on one of them and not the other. It's like I should have at least had default there. There doesn't seem to be any way to do that star output. Well, those are nice and backed up. Well, that's just because of buffers. They should be good once they catch up. Yeah, that looks like a pretty full residue pipe. Well, not full, but yeah, here it's keeping up. But like all of this is producing 40 fuel per minute. I could be doing 3 things producing 40 fuel per minute. Of course, still have to back up here. And I would still get some residual stuff to make plastic things out of. So that would be the same oil in. It would be a different liquid out. And then we would have residual stuff to deal with over there. Or over somewhere. Well, I don't have time to rebuild now. Because that's... I mean, we can reuse some of these machines. The oil pipeline is still good. We probably want to shut all these down and try to drain the residue. Got a bunch of spare containers. And 4 packaged fuel. Yeah, so this buffer might be too big. That might shut off power. What the? Oh yeah, that's not lined up. I'm not sure that these things were lined up here. Okay, so I got a little bit of back buffering there. That should give us a little bit of a power buffer without getting too crazy here. Maybe when we've got the fuller system, a big buffer would be useful. I guess a big buffer would also be useful while tearing it down, but I think we'll be okay. We actually do want this to back up, because that's how we get packaged fuel. Which is, I think is something we need later. Yeah, this seems to be a lot more effective at producing plastic than fuel. Alright, well, oh, you know what? If I switch over to a fuel-oriented process, I need half as many machines. So maybe you could then convert some of the space into doing residual plastic production. Oh, what's the rate on residual plastic production? So you produce fuel, and gets you 30 resin. We'll be doing 3 of them to do this entire well. No. Did I count right? So I was always doing 6 of stuff. Oh, rubber may have been a different amount. But you're 240, so I could actually run 4 of those. Maybe rubber was a different amount. Or did I just flub that? No, I flubbed that. Okay. So my other plant could be a little bit bigger. So we do 4 of these, producing 30. That's 120 residual. we do residual plastic. It's 6 polymer resin and a little bit of water. And so that's 60 per minute, so that makes 2 of these running 40 plastic, which would be a little bit more manageable. If we produce rubber, it's 40. It's kind of an odd number, actually. Maybe I was looking at this when I saw the 40s. And that produces a whole bunch of rubber, which we could then combine with some of our fuel to make plastic. Which probably makes some sense somewhere. Particularly for trying to do solid materials, so you make the fuel and the residue and then make that, and then maybe you get more material usage out of it somewhere along the line. Oh, actually that is 6 machines, 4 doing fuel, 2 doing residual plastic. You will not have any liquid residue then. So my layout is all wrong for that. So this might be a complete rip and rebuild. Now I could also try doing this one of my other plants, possibly even one of the smaller ones. Yeah, this is only lightly positive. Let's see. If I routed oil around, well, I'm almost out of space here. Do I even need to go back? And I never did drop off my beacons. Because figuring this out might be my next thing. Of course, if that's so heavily fuel-based and I don't have anything place to put fuel, the system is just kind of stopped. But if it's a fuel-producing system, okay, you could always run it for extra power. Alright, coke is only from residue. So maybe the thing is you can get a bigger proportion of fuel out of oil and then use that as one of your power sources. Stuff the pipe. Okay, it's going up slowly. We're probably going to be shredding any minute now. Yeah. Taking care of all this stuff might actually be a problem. I don't know if I want to reuse this lineup. Because first you'd have to drain the residue. shut down all the producers. I mean, probably need to, well, you can flush the pipes. Then all of that starts producing fuel, which has to get routed around to the other end. And I guess that's roughly equivalent to routing around the oil to that side and then bringing that in. And then all of this will be producing residue, which... I guess if I tear this stuff down, there'd be space to do residue stuff. We'll need some water capture to supply water. Actually, if we do... If we did fuel on this end and go to the fuel generators and then do packaging on that end? I don't know if I can set up a pipeline preference that way, though. You kind of want it to all go down to a point where you got the like something like the pump and the upward establishing a precedence. Alright, so... Well, I mean, if my purpose was to make plastic here, the fuel is at least sustaining. So I think if your goal is power, it might not be quite as good. This was supposed to be an experiment in a fuel plant, not in a plastic plant. Let's throw a word on him. The containers were modeled for fuel. But it also, they're the generic containers. They get used for anything now. Also, I see why I sometimes have trouble walking up on this. I would still have trouble walking up on it. Yeah, it wouldn't be doing anything with a large buffer. I think we're gonna have to completely back this up to package any, though. And I might... it'd be nice to get some packaged fuel. Then again, I might be able to just take the pump out, let it backflow, and run for a little bit. But we've got some degree of buffer. Oh well, too big of a project. I don't know if I'm going to have any time to play tomorrow. We'll be out for a bit. Alright, we got cable for automated wiring. Rebuild with fuel primary, because we're just kind of barely making enough now. And that's it for tonight. I guess I was hoping that fuel would just be better. I think it might be like maybe it's less setup than the fuel generators with water. So it's not a thing where I need to go through and rebuild everything. It doesn't give me any real advantage. It's just maybe in simplicity of new construction. But yeah, I'm gonna have to see how things go if I'm around a little bit or not at all tomorrow. And then, failing that, we'll be back on Sunday. Bye-bye.